Madhuri from Amplitude, and I'm here to talk a little bit about how we can build customers for life and how you can drive customer retention and customer loyalty. So, I will not be taking a lot of your time. I will actually be giving a very short talk, and then I'd love to invite Bayu on stage, and we'd love to present a live case study on how we can actually do this. So, so essentially, any app that we are using, actually relies on a lot of analytics behind it. So if you look at your daily life, there will be a bunch of apps that you're using without actually realizing that there are a lot of analytics software and even a lot of other, organizations that are actually powering these apps to make your experience a lot more personalized. I'm sure you would all agree that every Spotify screen that exists, in this room is a different personalized Spotify screen, actually personalized for the music taste that you would have, right? And how do companies, achieve this? We essentially do it by understanding what your preferences are and then consistently suggesting choices that would be tailored to your taste. So if you go through an entire life cycle, you would actually be using a bunch of apps that are powered by Amplitude to make your life seem better for you, to seem more personalized for you. So what we've essentially understood is that the only businesses that are going to continue to thrive in today's times and the apps or the digital products that you're going to continue to enjoy are the ones that can actually provide a superior experience to you. But most businesses actually, suffer a bit because what they understand is that they have to innovate relentlessly in order to continuously appeal to their customer base. They also have users like us, like you, who have constantly changing demands. If we experience a better experience, say on another app or another website, it's very easy for us to change loyalties because they just cater to our needs better. And more importantly, product managers today need to adopt a very proactive product-led strategy rather than, waiting for feedback from the customers. So how do we actually do that? There are a few strategies that I'm going to discuss shortly today that is going to help a lot of you in the room build on building better retention and loyalty strategies. So we are going to deep dive on each one of them. The first one is personalization. This is the first example, that we picked up because over time we've realized that unless the apps that exist on your phone or the website experience that you're having or any digital product experience that you're having, unless they actually personally speak to you, it is extremely difficult for you to keep going back to the app. Now, how do you actually create a personalized experience? Firstly, you need a very intense understanding of what your customer needs, of how your customer behaves, and then consequently ensure that you are responding within time. So, any changes that you're making, firstly, are related to your customer's behavior, your end user's behavior, and you're also able to churn out, what a customer needs well within time, driving efficiencies. Now, and it is an iterative process. It is not something that you can do once and then, sit back and relax. It is an iterative process because you as a consumer, I'm sure your music choices or your food choices are not what they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago, Since you are a constantly evolving individual, your needs are evolving and hence your expectations from the product are also evolving. The one thing that can help a lot of product managers is to identify patterns. So for example, if if say you have decided that to cut down stress in your life, you're going to try some meditation apps and the only time that you probably get is those 15 minutes before bedtime. So it is a pattern that a smart product manager would be able to realize that this person is trying to build a habit. They have probably done it 3 days in a row, skipped a couple of days, but they have come back to it. So identifying those patterns and then understanding, okay, these are some of the aspects of the product that this user particularly enjoys. They will be able to give you more personalized suggestions. The next strategy that we are going to talk about is how you can use behavioral data to actually improve your a digital experience for your customer. Now, if you look at any big product, uh, each product manager or each team within the organization would have their own individual metrics, right? But what we advise is that you should actually gun towards a North Star metric, a single metric that is actually a business metric for the organization. So, for example, for any, say, travel company, it can be, the number of bookings or travel bookings, flight bookings, hotel bookings that, an organization is making within a day or within a month. So, every employee in the company is actually optimizing for that North Star metric. And we also recommend that you should use a multidimensional approach. It is not just the analytics that you're seeing within Amplitude or any other platform. It is also using focus group discussions, doing first party analysis that will help you arrive at that metric and also for further analysis. The third thing that we recommend is actually using historical data patterns to understand how a user is going to be behaving. This ties in with the point of personalization as well, so that you can actually predict how your customers are going to behave in the future. The third strategy that we recommend is helping everybody in the organization with self-service access. And that can only be possible if a tool is actually built for self-serve and does not require any sort of, coding or any sort of, improved technical skills. This will essentially help you increase agility in decision making, as well as improve a lot of collaboration and building a data-centric culture. Now, how that helps is that you are basing your decisions on your customer's life cycle rather than any intuition or gut that you may have, right? So you are actually making decisions based on data that your users are telling you that this is what we want. And if you have a very strong data foundation, you will actually be able to, make quick, informed decisions that you can actually back up in terms of how your product roadmap is going to look like. Using the holy trinity of data, insights, and action. This is how a typical Amplitude stack looks like. I would not spend too much time on it. We are going to have a demo session on this right after this. So I would really encourage you to come and attend come and speak to us at the demo booth as well. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Bayu on stage so we can have a discussion on how HaloDoc actually does customer retention and builds loyalty. Thank you so much, Bayu. Would you want to maybe give a short introduction? Yeah, I'm also going to take time. Yeah. So. Yeah. Would you want to give us a short introduction about yourself?
Okay. Thank you very much, Madhuri. Wow. Okay. This is the first time for me being in this conference, and what a way to introduce myself in this conference as a speaker, obviously. So thank you very much, Amplitude, for inviting me over. My name is Bayu Wicaksono. I work at HaloDoc, and it's been quite a journey using Amplitude as well, as one of the most, I would say, like the user who's using most of Amplitude in HaloDoc, I would say. And it's probably one of the reasons why my manager selected me to be on the stage today. Anyway, so for HaloDoc itself, HaloDoc is a company, a leading digital healthcare ecosystem platform in Indonesia, and our mission is basically to simplifying access to healthcare throughout the nation, right? And I work at HaloDoc as a product lead for a core platform, which our primary mission is to building a robust, a scalable, a secure, and reliable platform, essentially, which is going to support all the other business verticals in HaloDoc. I'm very excited to be here. Hopefully my journey and experience can be useful to all of you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bayu. Maybe can you share some specific examples of how customer expectations have changed in the recent years based on how
Yeah.
the products that you've worked on?
Sure. I think for this one, we need to go back a bit further back. Yeah, I think during the pandemic period, especially, that's when I believe the digital transformations accelerated quite a lot. Not only for healthcare industry, but also for productivity. For example, like the upgrade for the Google Meet, Zoom, everything else about that one. Healthcare is also the same, right? During pandemic, especially, lots of teleconsultations platform like Halodoc and everybody else is also collaborating with the government to deliver, a good healthcare facilities, not facilities, sorry, system basically to the patients in Indonesia, right? And I think that carries over into the post-pandemic as well, where previously users are more into going to the hospital, but in the big cities like Jakarta, for example, they will be difficult to do that one, right? Because there's traffic jam everywhere.
Yeah.
It could take hours basically to go to the hospital. Now
Right.
with teleconsultation become more prominent, it'll become easier. User can go do consultations with a doctor, get a prescribed medicine, get those medicine delivered into their home, and it's really simplifying their use for the healthcare, their access to the healthcare.
Got it. I think that's super important, especially in the world that we are living in, that healthcare is accessible and not really, reliant on external factors.
Yep.
So, maybe you can double down a bit on what your biggest focus areas are in this year, and what are you looking at when it comes to driving customer engagement and loyalty?
Focus area. So engagement and loyalty, obviously, two things that there are we focusing a lot as well this year. But I think nowadays we also need to focus on sustainability, as in we need to be conscious about the costs that we're going to spend, obviously. But in terms of focus area, we obviously focusing on retention. So customer engagement with retentions goes hand in hand. So new retention initiatives essentially to which promotes our cross pollinations work. In Halodoc we have three big services. There's teleconsultations, there's medicine delivery, and we also launched a new home care services, which is lab test, which allows you to get medical checkup, for example, or vaccine injections, or vitamin C injections, or vaccine booster, basically, like dengue fever vaccine, from your phone to your house is very easy as well. So those kind of collaboration is very important for us to do. Personalization is also key areas as well that in order to be able to engage with users, obviously we want to do good personalization in order for make the engagement going smoothly for the users. Because in Halodoc we have lots of cohorts, lots of clusters of users, which has different behavior essentially. Male, female, NCD users with chronic illness, there will be different patterns, will be different as well. So those are important. As a core platform as well, since I'm in the core platform, one of the most important metrics as well, key focus area as well, is the optimizing our infrastructure to make it more scalable, reliable as well. And last but not least, making it more secure as well, because we're holding the medical records data, right? We need to make sure those data are protected, the patient data protected. So, yeah, those are the important keys, Eric.
Yeah, I think that is a very important point that you brought up, right? That it is important to secure the data because it is very sensitive information that you specifically are dealing with,
Correct.
right? So when you when you're looking at customer engagement and loyalty, what are some of the metrics that you use to measure that?
I think it goes back again to the focus area that I mentioned earlier, in terms of like the engagement, obviously, retention, user retention. It's one of the key metrics, I would say, in Halodoc as well, among other metrics as well. But retention, user retention percentage is very important.
Okay.
We measure as on overall, but also for each individual services as well, because as you know that individual services could have different retention period. Say, for example, teleconsultations depend on cohorts. It will have a different retention period as well, right? Like
Yeah.
for single person, you probably have like one every 6 months, for example, you return to the applications because you're not sick. But if you are a parent with two kids, it probably could go down once every 3 months or maybe even 2 months. I have two kids, so that happens to me.
Maybe weekly also, right? When you have young kids.
When one of the kids is sick, then it's just the other kids is just right around the corner will get sick again. So that consultations, frequency period interval is going to be much shorter basically for those teleconsultations. Medicine is also the same. If you are a vitamin buyers, for example, maybe once every month. Lab tests would probably a bit longer because you're not going to do lab tests very often for that one, right? So that one is retention. For cost optimizations. This one is quite straightforward, I would say. How much cost that you can save or can optimize. One of the example being the, let's say, out of nowhere is a OTP, for example. So OTP could be very high costs as well if you're not careful. Say if you ask them to log in every time you open your applications, for example, that could increase your OTP cost, right? So that's one of the things that we need to optimize as well, among other things. As a platform.
Yeah, I mean, as a follow-up, have you used Amplitude to analyze any of these metrics?
Yes, obviously. So, say for example, for the retention, I think we use Amplitude as well, the retention cohort analysis, which helps us a lot because in Amplitude you can check where the first event and then the second event, how many users are returning on that one. And the good thing as well is that you can separate by segments, by cohort as well, so you can see the retention, the difference, the retention between each cohorts as well. And cost analysis is the same as well. Like I mentioned, like you want to be able to be as efficient as possible, but not sacrificing the engagement. So we track it using funnels as well. So if we change anything related with cost, we need to make sure that the funnels for the conversion, for example, doesn't drop off from that card. So those are quite important for us in that one.
Thank you. I think glad to know that Amplitude is helping you track the metrics that are critical. Now, changing gears a bit, how do you build a product hypothesis, or how do you look at building a winning product hypothesis? And obviously keeping the retention and engagement part as the base. Could you help us with that?
Right. I think this one is, I believe this audience is more about product managers or VP probably, or head level, their experience in regards of like the steps to build hypothesis and stuff. So maybe I'll share my own experience basically on engagement, a little bit of engagement, and also how we use Amplitude to make an improvement. So one of the areas in core platform is that we handle app homepage. So app homepage is one of the big areas that we monitor in terms of the metrics, like the visitors, the clicks on each of the elements, like the icons, the banners, and everything. And we also measure how was the conversion from the homepage to the icons to the them making an order placed. So during that time, we noticed that some of the icons are not really, engaged essentially. It's tend to skew towards some of the main services that we have. So we have a hypothesis where users who visit Halodoc tends to already have an intent, basically what they want to do. And we verified this with the UX team, where they already interviewed some of the users. Why do you use Halodoc, for example? And most of the time, their answer is they already know that they want to chat with the doctor, they want to buy medicine. It's not like we're the green ones or the orange ones applications where you would browse basically
Yeah.
and then add those items into carts. That's not something that would happen in terms of the behavior in HaloDoc, right?
Right.
So then after that, we do A/B testing, basically to verify those, to validate those hypotheses that we have. Though we're not using your A/B testing platform because at the time it's still very early. It was like 6 months into the integrations with Amplitude at the time. So we use other platform.
Yeah.
Your A/B testing is awesome, by the way. But we use other platform to do the A/B testing, but we funnel those data into Amplitude. So we check the data into Amplitude. So we do several variations of those homepage with the simplified version, basically, instead of those which cluttered items. The simplified ones were also with several variations, depends on the cohort again. Like for female, for male, men and women will be different. Women would tend to go to the period tracker, for example, or pregnancy tracker.
Yeah.
But men would most of the time goes to the BMI. And funny thing is to mental health stuff as well. I don't know why, but those are the things that happen. So we did that, and then we saw some of the improvement data basically in Amplitude. In Amplitude, you can see that if there's an improvement, you can see that the statistically improve or something like that. And the change that we did through the Amplitude, we saw the data, and the simplified version is obviously just significantly better. I would say about 15% better, 15 to 20% better in terms of the click rate, in terms of the conversion rate is also better. And as a bonus, marketing team is also very happy with us because the banner is previously hidden behind the sheets now goes up in the middle, for example.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that changed our engagement within our applications from the homepage into the other services that we have in our applications.
Got it. So basically, you were able to drive better retention to the inside pages, and
I would say retention would go a bit longer later on because in order to measure that kind of retention, you will need time basically, right? At first, you want them to engage first in your applications, right? And
Right.
by improving that, we can see some engagement improve basically because now user can find the service easily as well. And later on down the line, our retention does improve, but it can be because of many other things. It can be because of the improvement within other services as well, because good service, personalized service leads to better engagement, leads to better retention as well.
got it. So essentially, you were able to drive the positive outcomes that you needed, and
Yeah.
you were also able to, get cross-functional teams to kind of
Yeah,
build
correct.
on that progress. Great. Can you share, a little bit more about HaloDoc's approach to create like a personalized experience?
Right. So personalization is something that we've been exploring this opportunities. I don't know, since if I look at my CPO right now, you probably explored this since the beginning of time of HaloDoc. I saw his documents basically in Confluence and Google Docs. It's been like 3 years behind or something like that. So and it's still true until today as well. So I explained a bit about I already mentioned a bit about the segmentations. We did a lot of cohorts as well, right? And that's because it's true in HaloDoc, there's a different type of users coming into HaloDoc, different behaviors in HaloDoc as well means that they go into different clusters, right? So we started off from those because we want to make sure the personalization that we're going to give them is something that is relevant to them, because this is very, very important, is that personalization without being relevant is nothing if you just randomly giving them something, right? And it's very important in HaloDoc as well. So for like we have many services in our application where doctor consultations, you wouldn't recommend any doctor consultation, any doctor specializations to a patient, right? You want to give them the right specialty. If you use a certain micro apps, for example, then you would want our application to offer them the right doctor. If you're mental health, you're not gonna give them a vet, for example. It doesn't make
Yes.
sense, right?
Yes.
Or,
please don't.
or GP. You would want to go to the psychiatrist or psychologist, for example. So same goes with the medicine as well. If you're diabetic, then don't give them anything sugary or anything like that, right? Because we have something like that as well. Same goes with lab tests as well. The new service that we have. If you're diabetic, then we provide you. We're going to recommend you to do lab tests, for example. So basically the personalization that we're doing is going to be depends on the user behavior. We look at so much on the cohort level on that part.
Got it. So, do you use Amplitude extensively to help you drive insights in terms of how you can?
Yes, obviously. So in Amplitude, we funnel those events into Amplitude, right? So we know the behavior is already in Amplitude.
Yeah.
So one of the features in Amplitude that we use is the behavior cohort. So we can build the cohorts based on the behaviors, based on the events, essentially. That the users are doing with our application. So we create those clusters in there and then combine that with the data from BI, obviously. And the easiest way to share this is through the behavioral cohort. We funnel that or we push that into our CRM tools, for example. Because another way to do personalization is obviously from the CRM communications. The communication message needs to be very personalized as well. Like if you're talking to a woman, would probably a bit different to the men. And again, the message that we're sent through those CRM as well needs to be personalized. So we don't just push random message to the users without knowing any context of who is this user is. So we use that a lot as a data points for the building those cohorts.
Great. Thank you so much, Bayu. I
Thank
think
you.
this was super helpful. Especially the field that you're in, because you're handling such sensitive data. It is. You also have to take a very responsible approach in how you're actually personalizing, because it is not just about a monetization strategy. It is also about how your strategies can affect something very important in a person's life, which is their health. Yeah. So. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
This was a lovely, introduction to what you do.
Thank you very much, Madhuri, for inviting me over. Thank you very much, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands
Thank you
together for
so
Madhuri
much.
and Bayu.